The wild does not forge thrones of gold. Power is seized with blood and fang and claw. The summit of the food chain is a death sentence, written in the oldest language on Earth. Only a creature that has clawed its way up from the uttermost depths of hunger can truly comprehend the weight of supremacy. And only that creature is worthy to reign. Dawn touches the crowns of the acacias, and there a figure lies motionless, a lioness. 280 pounds of coiled muscle, her amber eyes sweeping, unhurried, across a sea of windswept grass. The queen of the savanna is in no rush. In the world of the apex predator, patience is a far deadlier weapon than speed. A herd of wildebeest trudges into a stretch of tall grass. They must eat, even though every instinct screams that behind those towering blades, death may be waiting. The first wildebeest lowers its head. In the instant its muzzle brushes the lower grass, the lioness explodes forward. A detonation of speed tears the quiet morning apart. There are no spectacular leaps into the air, only sheer, absolute panic. Dust erupts. The earth shudders beneath 1,000 hooves, trampling over one another as the vast herd stampedes in blind terror. But the lioness has already chosen her target, one wounded animal, falling out of rhythm. Half a second stumble is all it takes. The hunt ends swiftly, swallowed by a curtain of dust. A lioness can reach 35 miles per hour, but her mass means she can only sustain that burst over short distances. An adult wildebeest can gallop at 50 miles per hour with far superior endurance, but a wounded one cannot. The lioness's success rate hovers around 25%. That means for every 4 lunges, 3 times she must watch, empty-handed, as her quarry vanishes into the distance. This time, she has won. But the lioness does not feast in the open grassland. She clamps her jaws around the prey's neck and hauls the carcass, laboriously, into the shade of an acacia cluster some 50 yards away. Why would a victor retreat so quickly into the shadows? Because at the Waterhole not far from here, there dwells a creature that makes even lions tremble. The water parts. A colossal head rises, slowly, deliberately. A bull hippopotamus, 4,000 pounds, jaws that gape to 150 degrees, canines 20 inches long, honed like butcher's knives. The bull roars a deep, guttural blast that shakes the surface of the water and carries for hundreds of yards. This is his territory, and every living thing within that radius knows it. A young hippo drifts too close, the bull charges, jaws yawning wide, teeth splayed like twin sabers. Even lions keep their distance from the water's edge when a hippo is present. A single bite delivers 1,800 psi, more powerful than a tiger's, more devastating than a lion's. The most dangerous large mammal in Africa. They kill approximately 500 people every year, more than lions and leopards combined. And the majority of those attacks occur when boats stray into their river territories. What makes the hippopotamus even more formidable is this: they do not swim. They run along the bottom, each stride heavy yet terrifyingly swift. 19 miles per hour on land. They can hold their breath for up to 5 minutes beneath the surface, more than enough to reach any creature reckless enough to enter their water. Their skin secretes a reddish fluid, often mistakenly called blood sweat. In truth, it is hipposudoric acid, a natural shield against ultraviolet radiation and bacterial infection. Not a single drop of blood. The hippopotamus commands the water. The lion commands the land. But between those two kingdoms, one hunter has chosen a third path, the canopy above. On an acacia branch, 100 yards from the waterhole, a leopard. It has been watching from the start. The lioness's kill, the hippo's roar, the wildebeest herd's eruption. It knows the rules of this waterhole. Never compete with a stronger rival evade, and wait for your moment. The most solitary hunter in Africa. No pride, no prolonged pursuit, pure ambush, and a patience that can stretch on for hours. £125. Yet it possesses an advantage no other predator can match, dragging prey 3 times its own body weight up into the trees. Where lions cannot reach, where hyenas cannot climb, up in the branches, a meal in absolute safety. That is the survival advantage that allows the leopard to endure in a kingdom ruled by far larger beasts. A herd of impala grazes on the open plain, acutely aware that danger lurks at every turn, but life affords no other choice. The leopard slips to the ground, belly pressed to the earth, eyes locked on target, 20 feet, every muscle drawn taut as a bowstring. It strikes the sentinel impala, shrieks an alarm, and the herd detonates for the second time this morning. The leopard seizes a juvenile, hauling it into the canopy in one fluid motion. The lioness eats on the ground, confident within her pride. The leopard eats in the trees, vigilant and utterly alone. Both hunt the same prey, but they inhabit two entirely different worlds. Bite force, 300 psi. Success rate, roughly 17%, the lowest among the great cats. But when the leopard succeeds, its meal is secure on high. The lion wields brute strength. The leopard wields camouflage. But at the water's edge, among the reeds, another hunter deploys the rarest weapon of all patience beyond comprehension. The shoebill stalk 5 feet tall, an 8-foot wingspan, and a bill shaped like an enormous shoe, 9 inches long and sharp as an axe blade. It stands absolutely motionless in the marsh at the waterhole's fringe. Fierce, yellow eyes bore into the water's surface. 30 minutes pass, not a twitch, not a single muscular tremor. Fish glide below. The shoebill strikes its bill, cleaves the water like a hatchet. It clamps a 2-foot lungfish in its vice-like grip, decapitating it before swallowing. Precise, ruthless, and patient to an almost supernatural degree. The IUCN classifies them as vulnerable. Only around 5,000 individuals remain on the entire planet. This bird can stand motionless for over an hour, waiting for precisely the right moment. And what makes the shoebill even more astonishing, they have been documented eating juvenile crocodiles, a predator feeding on a predator at the edge of an African waterhole. Midday. The sun scorches the savanna. The lioness sleeps beneath the acacias, her belly full. The hippo wallows submerged, only its eyes and ears breaking the surface. The leopard sprawls across a branch, its kill safely stashed below. The shoebill stands sentinel in the reeds. At a single waterhole, 5 survival strategies coexist: raw power, territorial dominance, camouflage, infinite patience, and lightning agility. Each species has its way, but all revolve around one thing: water. Yet the supreme predators do not reign only where the sun blazes. Thousands of miles to the north, where temperatures plunge to -50 degrees Fahrenheit, another kingdom endures. A kingdom where cold itself is the most fearsome predator of all. a blizzard tears through the taiga. Wind screams through the bare trunks of Siberian pine, lashing snow against everything in its path. The temperature touches minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Through that white oblivion, 7 silhouettes press forward, a grey wolf pack. The alpha leads, 132 pounds of muscle, encased in a double layer of cold-resistant fur. An insulating undercoat within, a waterproof guard layer without, a machine honed by evolution for a land where no other wild canid dares to tread. Three days without food, their broad, fur-covered paws distribute their weight across the snow, and still the pack advances, always advancing. Siberia, the coldest and most expansive territory on any continent. 5,200,000 square miles of wilderness, where winter persists for 8 months and the sun vanishes for weeks on end. From the southern taiga, the largest coniferous forest on Earth, encompassing 10% of the world's total forest cover. To the Arctic tundra in the north, this is the domain of creatures that have learned to survive where no other species dares to dwell. In Africa, water dictates power. Whoever controls the waterhole commands the kingdom. But in Siberia, the seasons hold the power of life and death. Seasons shift, the rules shift, the rulers shift. But which season truly decides who lives and who dies? The answer lies buried deep, beneath 3 feet of snow blanketing the land ahead of the wolf pack. And it begins with winter, the season where death arrives in silence. The pack threads through a rocky defile, heading toward the valley below. Each wolf patrols roughly 31 miles a day through forest, across frozen rivers, over snow-laden passes. A howl pierces the darkness, carrying up to 10 miles through the Arctic night. This is no cry of loneliness. It is a summons. The hunt is about to begin. Every wolf in the pack possesses a unique howl, an acoustic fingerprint. The alpha howls first. The pack joins in a symphony in the heart of the wild. But the wolf is not the only predator hunting in the winter darkness. Deeper in the taiga, where the snow bears no tracks, another shadow moves. Entirely alone. The Siberian taiga, the largest solitary hunter on the face of the earth. And unlike every other great cat on this planet, it has chosen to inhabit a land where no feline would dare set foot. Historical records document individuals exceeding 660 pounds, though in the wild today, adults typically range from 350 to 420 pounds. nearly 11 feet from nose to tail tip. Shoulder height exceeding 3 feet. Bite force 1,000 psi sufficient to crush the femur of an adult deer in a single strike. But size is not what makes the Siberian taiga extraordinary. The thickest coat in the great cat family, a layer of subcutaneous fat, up to 4 inches deep across the belly. While the lioness in Africa shares her spoils with the pride, the Siberian taiga keeps everything for itself. It hunts alone. It feeds alone. It lives alone. Only when a tigress bears cubs does she tolerate another living creature within her territory, and only for the first 2 years. A male tiger's territory can sprawl across 400 square miles larger than many a great city, and he patrols every inch of it. The Siberian taiga moves through a Mongolian oak forest, eyes scanning the trees. Sika deer, its primary prey, are pawing through the snow for acorns, 200 yards ahead. The taiga lowers itself, belly kissing the snow. Each step, deliberate claws retracted, not a whisper of sound on the powdery surface. "50 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. Every stride is a calculation. Distance, wind, angle of attack. The taiga launches 37 miles per hour, tearing through the snowpack. The Sika deer springs, but 3-inch canines have already locked onto its throat. One bite. The hunt is over. In Africa, the lioness hunts with her pride tactics built on numbers and coordination. In Siberia, the taiga hunts alone tactics built on absolute power and the element of surprise. Two continents, two philosophies, one outcome: the strongest eats first. But the Siberian taiga needs to feed only once a week, and between meals, it vanishes as though the taiga itself has swallowed it into darkness. Yet where the taiga ends, another kingdom begins upon the sea ice, a realm without trees, without soil, only ice and wind. The Kara Sea, near the Gulf of Ob, ice stretches to the horizon, a blinding, featureless expanse, silent enough to suffocate. And upon that 3-foot thick mantle of ice, the largest land predator on Earth is on patrol. The polar bear, nearly 1,000 pounds of pure primal power, clad in fur that appears white to the naked eye. But in reality, polar bear fur is entirely transparent. Each hair is a hollow tube that channels light, reflecting the snow around it. The skin beneath jet black, absorbing every last trace of warmth the Arctic surrenders. Paws 12 inches across natural snowshoes, distributing nearly 1,000 pounds over thin ice without a single crack. Bite force, 1,200 psi, the most powerful in the entire bear family. More devastating than the Siberian taiga thousands of miles to the south. But the polar bear's most lethal weapon is not its fangs or claws. It is its sense of smell, capable of detecting prey up to 20 miles downwind. Farther than the human eye can see to the horizon, ringed seals the primary quarry rest beside breathing holes in the ice, 50 to 70 pounds, capable of diving deeper than 300 feet, swimming at 15 miles per hour. They maintain their breathing holes by scratching at the ice from below, and each seal keeps multiple holes across its territory. This means the polar bear can never know precisely which hole its prey will surface at. Beneath the water, a seal is virtually untouchable, but it must breathe, and each time it surfaces at a breathing hole, the polar bear is there. The bear lies motionless beside a hole 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes half a day. Patience in the Arctic is not a virtue. It is a condition of survival. A seal surfaces. The bear strikes a 12-inch paw, slams down like a sledgehammer, hauling the seal onto the ice in one explosive motion. "95% of the polar bear's diet comes from these seals. A single ringed seal contains up to 100,000 calories, enough energy for days on the ice. But winter is not merely the hunting season. Deep within a snowdrift on Wrangel Island, a pregnant female lies curled in her den, neither eating nor drinking, enduring a vigil of 5 months. Each day that passes, she loses nearly a pound of body weight, but within her belly, 2 tiny lives are growing, fueled entirely by the energy she sacrifices. The hunters battle winter, but the prey must choose stand their ground or flee. That choice will determine who survives when the snow begins to melt. And the answer differs depending on which species stands before the question. The reindeer choose to run. A herd, 1,000 strong, pushes southward from the Taimyr Peninsula, 620 miles through a white wilderness of tundra, heading for the taiga. The longest migration of any terrestrial mammal in the Northern Hemisphere, and every mile is a gamble between life and death. $330 to £440 apiece, yet weight is not what protects them on this epic journey. Formation is. The mature bulls walk the perimeter antlers facing outward, ready for battle. The females and calves move at the center. The herd travels as a single living organism. Beneath the deep snow, lichen, their primary food source, awaits. Reindeer dig through the snowpack with their broad hooves, consuming 7 to 9 pounds of vegetation each day to maintain body heat. But there is a secret that science did not discover until 2011 through research by the Royal Society. Reindeer can see ultraviolet light. Their eyes, unlike those of any other mammal, detect wolf fur against a field of white snow. To the reindeer, a wolf is never invisible. But seeing the enemy does not guarantee escaping the enemy. The wolves emerge from the forest edge, the same pack that went 3 days without eating at the start of our story. The alpha raises its head, scents the air, signals. The wolf's tactic is not speed, it is coordination. 37 miles per hour when needed, but endurance is the true weapon. 31 miles patrolled every day. Relay pursuit when one tires, another takes over. No predator on the snow coordinates more effectively than the wolf. But this time, only one wolf breaks from the pack to hunt. The reindeer herd explodes. Chaos. A blizzard of kicked-up snow obscures everything beyond 10 feet. A calf falls behind its leg, trapped in a deep drift. In an instant, it is separated from the herd. The alpha wolf closes in. 400 psi locks onto the calf's neck. It collapses within 10 seconds. The wolf savors the kill, consuming up to 9 pounds in a single sitting, replenishing the energy lost over 3 days of fasting. But the reindeer herd presses on. "1,000 becomes 999. The migration does not halt for a single death. Life goes on. It always goes on, even as each passing season claims its toll. If you too have been captivated by this confrontation between predator and prey across the frozen frontier, share your thoughts in the comments below. Not every species chooses to run. The muskox, a survivor of the Ice Age, still standing when the woolly mammoth fell, still breathing when the Neanderthals vanished from the earth. 400 million years of evolution compressed into a single body weighing 880 pounds. Standing roughly 5 feet tall, draped in a shaggy coat up to 2 feet long that sweeps almost to the ground, and beneath that coarse outer armor, a secret caveat. An undercoat softer than silk, 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. No synthetic fiber ever engineered by human hands can rival what nature perfected millions of years ago. The reindeer runs. The muskox stands. Two opposing strategies, same winter, same enemy. When wolves appear, the muskox herd does not scatter. They close ranks, forming a defensive circle, horns facing outward, calves sheltered at the center. A newborn muskox weighs only 10 to 15 pounds, so small that a single wolf lunge could prove fatal, and so the wall of horn and muscle that surrounds it is the only shield it has. The wolves circle, probing, testing, searching for a crack in the formation. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5. A young wolf edges too close, the dominant bull charges. Over 800 pounds hurtling forward, curved horns lowered like a plowshare. The young wolf is sent sprawling, retreating instantly. A cow surges out after it delivering a second blow to ensure the intruder understands the message. Then she falls back into formation. The wolves withdraw, not because they are weak, but because the price is too high. A wolf struck by a muskox horn can suffer broken ribs. Broken ribs mean death. Wolves do not gamble against those odds. The muskox stands its ground, much as the hippo holds its territory. 800 pounds of muskox, and it stands. The body dictates the tactic. Across every continent, this law does not change. But winter does not last forever. And when the snow begins to flow in streams, the balance of power will reverse entirely. Spring arrives, and it announces itself with a roar rising from the depths of the earth. The brown bear emerges into the light after a hibernation lasting roughly 5 to 7 months, rising to nearly 10 feet when it stands on its hind legs. Bite force, 975 psi. Speed, 35 miles per hour. Claws, 4 inches long. But right now, it is weak, ravenous, having lost nearly half its body weight, and it needs food before its own body begins consuming its muscle. A sense of smell, 2,100 times more acute than a human's, guides it to the damp earth of early spring. There are no grand feasts of meat. Spring has only just begun, and nature at this moment is a brutal equation of survival. The brown bear lowers its head. Those lethal weapons, 4-inch claws, now function as perfect excavation machines. This enormous biological engine unleashes its power. It flips boulders, weighing hundreds of pounds, as effortlessly as turning a dry leaf. It shreds rotting logs with a single swipe of its paw. The target? Roots, fresh shoots, and thousands of fat, drowsy insects. It sounds modest. But for a machine running on fumes, every gram of protein and fat is a lifeline, the critical restart that keeps the engine from devouring itself. It chews ravenously. Every calorie is hoarded to halt the breakdown of its own muscle tissue. Before it can reclaim its throne as the ultimate predator, the brown bear must first become the most patient forager on the landscape, surviving the earliest, leanest days of spring. Winter has passed. Spring brings food, brings light, brings hope. But spring does not bring only sustenance. It brings the next generation, and with a new generation come dangers unlike any before. Wrangel Island, March. The sun appears for the first time in weeks, casting a pale gold wash across the snow-covered slopes. A small opening forms in the hillside snowpack, then widens. A black nose emerges, drawing in the biting air, a mother polar bear, seeing light for the first time in 5 months of darkness. She steps out, and behind her, 2 cubs toddle after, each weighing barely 25 pounds, their white fur impossibly soft, their wide eyes beholding the world for the very first time. "5 months without food. The mother has lost nearly 40% of her body weight, from close to 1,000 pounds down to barely 600. Every ounce of that energy has been converted into milk, polar bear milk containing 60% fat, thick as cream, sustaining 2 lives through the longest winter on Earth. But now, she is starving, and her 2 cubs need her alive. The mother leads them down the slope, the cubs sliding on the snow, tumbling, face-planting, then scrambling upright again. The world beyond the den is too vast, too bright, too cold. Their tiny legs have never walked on anything but rock in a darkened chamber. But she has no time to let them acclimate. The sea ice is melting. Arctic sea ice is losing more than 12% of its extent every decade. According to NASA satellite data, the fastest rate of decline in recorded history. Each spring, the distance from shore to the ice edge where the seals congregate grows a little farther. And each year, the mother must travel farther, swim longer, on less energy. She needs to reach the ice edge before the ice fractures. It is a race against time, and time is winning. The mother steps onto the sea ice. With every stride, she pauses to listen faint cracking sounds beneath her feet. The ice here is thinner than in years past. Thinner every year. The two cubs press close behind her, stepping precisely into the prints she leaves, an ancient instinct telling them that where their mother has trodden is safe. A crack. The ice splits beneath the mother's feet. A ribbon of black water opens between two floes. The mother leaps across. She turns back. Two cubs stand on the far side, terrified, crying out. The gap is wider than they are long. For the first time in their brief lives, they face something that instinct has not taught them to overcome. The mother rumbles softly, a sound of reassurance, not threat. One cub jumps, plunges into the frigid water, paddles frantically to the other side. The mother uses her muzzle to push it up onto the ice. The second cub follows. All three press forward once more. The water was cold enough that both cubs shiver for hours afterward. At last, the ice edge. Ringed seals lie basking beside their breathing holes. The mother lowers herself, advancing step by step, a hunting technique she has perfected over 10 years. But this time, she is not hunting for herself alone. She is hunting for the future. The mother charges a 12-inch paw, slams down. The seal thrashes, but it is 1 second too slow. The first meal after 5 months of fasting. The two cubs crowd in, watching eagerly as their mother tears into the flesh. They are no longer content to wait for milk. Their milk teeth are sharp enough now to taste the spoils. The salt of blood and the richness of seal blubber are formally imprinted into their memory as the flavor of survival. This is the first practical lesson, and in a warming world, it may be the most important. Hunt fast, eat fast, before the ice disappears beneath your feet. The mother surrenders the finest cuts of skin and blubber to her young seal. Fat converts directly into energy, into muscle mass and fat reserves, into the continued existence of the next generation. The Arctic cycle from sea ice through seal, through bear, to cub. Every link depends upon the one before it. But the entire cycle depends on a single thing, ice, and the ice is vanishing. Thousands of miles to the south, in the taiga, another mother is teaching her young their first lesson. But here, the curriculum is not ice, it is running water. A Kamchatka stream. Salmon surge upstream, thousands of them, jostling past boulders, leaping up cascades. The entire river seethes with life. A brown bear wades to the bank and steps in, standing imperious in the current icy water rushing past her flanks, her eyes locked on the surface below, waiting. A salmon leaps the bear, swings a paw and snatches it mid-air, jaws clamping shut. Precise to the fraction of an inch, the flawless reflex of a predatory machine refined over thousands of generations of evolution. But the feast is anything but easy. Beneath the churning current, thousands of salmon are rocketing past at remarkable speed. Some lunges produce nothing but a white explosion of spray and an empty stomach. Wading along the shallows, the bear methodically flips stones, searching for stranded fish or stray eggs washed downstream. The competition is fierce. 200 yards away, other enormous males snarl and jostle, claiming the prime positions at the foot of the falls. In the natural world, the law of the strongest always presides. To avoid bloody confrontations, she patiently retreats upstream, where the current is gentler, the ground safer, even if the fish are fewer. Between catches, the survival instinct speaks. She lumbers up onto the grassy bank, overturning rocks, digging for fresh roots. The brown bear is an omnivore, and the dietary flexibility is precisely why it dominates every landscape, from Alaska to Kamchatka. She returns to midstream, back to stillness. Hundreds of pounds of living sculpture, motionless in the current. She understands the most critical lesson of the hunt. Patience is the supreme weapon of the predator. A silver flash. Water erupts. This strike is a killing blow. Razor teeth pin the thrashing salmon in an inescapable grip. The protein-rich, fat-laden feast continues, fueling reserves for the winter ahead. And the salmon do not nourish the bear alone. The carcass remnants she drags into the forest will decompose nitrogen and phosphorus from the ocean, seeping deep into the soil, feeding the roots, sustaining an entire ecosystem. Spring turns to summer, and in Siberia, summer is no holiday, it is a sprint. Summer in Siberia lasts a mere 2 to 3 months, brutally short, and every species knows each day of sunlight is a day borrowed from the winter to come. It is an arms race, every creature racing to stockpile, racing to breed, racing to teach its young. Because winter does not ask who is ready. The muskox sheds its thick winter kivyut, replacing it with a lighter summer coat. Tufts of shed fiber drift across the tundra so precious that indigenous peoples gather them to weave into the most expensive scarves in the world. Then autumn arrives. Birch leaves blaze gold and fall like rain. Temperatures plummet from around 60 degrees Fahrenheit to below freezing in a matter of weeks. The brown bear takes its final meals. The wolf pack tightens formation, drilling the young wolves through their last lessons. The reindeer begin turning northward, the reverse of the direction they fled 6 months before. The wheel of the seasons completes one revolution, and with every turn, the question remains the same. This time, who will not survive? But there is one enemy that no species can outrun, and it arrives in silence. Siberia is warming at twice the global average. The permanently frozen ground beneath the tundra permafrost is thawing, and locked within that ground, a ticking time bomb. $1.5 trillion tons of carbon, double the total amount of carbon dioxide currently in Earth's atmosphere. A bomb that humanity cannot defuse. If the permafrost continues to thaw, that carbon will escape methane, and CO2 will accelerate the warming, and the spiral will become irreversible. Sea ice is losing more than 12% of its coverage every decade. For polar bears, that means the hunting platform is literally disappearing beneath their feet. Some populations have declined by more than 40%, such as the southern Beaufort Sea population, where the ice is retreating fastest. The mother bear we have been following, she and her 2 cubs, will have to swim farther every year, hunt harder every season. And not every year will both cubs survive their first winter. The Siberian taiga, only around 600 individuals remain in the wild. That number has risen slightly, from roughly 350 in 2005. A small victory for conservation, but one as fragile as the spring ice. "600 tigers across 5 million square miles of taiga. Each taiga requires 400 square miles of territory. When the forest is felled, the territory shrinks and the taiga disappears. Half a world away, in Africa, the shoebill faces the same story. Only 5,000 individuals remain. Papyrus marshes are being drained for agriculture. Habitat vanishes day by day. A bird that stands motionless for over an hour waiting for a single fish, but cannot stand and wait for its habitat to return. Two continents, two ecosystems. One threat. Humans are reshaping the world faster than any species can adapt. But life in Siberia has never been easy. This land has endured dozens of ice ages, dozens of mass extinctions. And the species that have survived the muskox, the reindeer, the grey wolf, have proved that adaptation is not a choice. It is a primal instinct carved into every cell across millions of years. The wolf pack presses on. Winter returns. The alpha leads, 7 silhouettes, cutting through the blizzard, just as they were on the first day we encountered them. Thank you for journeying with WildVerse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. Until our next adventure, and if you have not yet subscribed, now is the perfect time. Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the grandest mysteries of the natural world. Subscribe and join the journey into the wild unknown. Ribs pressing sharp against sun-scorched hides, the Asilia pride's not taken a large kill in days. Hunger carves deeper lines into their flanks with every passing hour. Seven lionesses and 1 adult male, that is all that remains of this empire, along with 4 cubs barely 3 months old, still too small to keep pace with the pride. Ruaha, Tanzania's largest national park, spanning over 20,000 square miles, shelters roughly 10% of all the lions on Earth within its borders of riverine forest and baobab woodland. This territory sits at the crossroads of southern and eastern African ecosystems, where species from both regions overlap, producing a density of biodiversity few places on the continent can rival. More than 570 bird species have been recorded here, from lilac-breasted rollers to martial eagles. But that number alone does not guarantee survival for the predators below. In Ruaha, the dry season is the harshest trial of all, a crucible that strips the landscape to bone and separates the resilient from the doomed. When drought pushes a dynasty to the brink, can collective strength rescue an empire on the verge of collapse, or will the land reclaim what it once gave? The answer begins with a desperate gamble hunting giraffe, the tallest and among the most dangerous prey any lion can pursue across the open savanna. A Maasai giraffe stands towering over the savanna, its head reaching above 18 feet. From that height, it detects every movement within a radius of miles across the flat terrain. Two lionesses crawl flat against the earth, muscles taut as bowstrings. The gap closes to 100 feet, then 65, then 50. Every inch demands agonizing patience. but the cracked ground betrays them. A single crunch, the giraffe wheels around, 4 long legs lashing backward like steel beams. A kick scythes through the air, missing a lioness by inches. The Acilia pride retreats, bellies still empty. The hunt has failed before it truly began, and the energy spent cannot be recovered without food. Yet this seemingly invincible giant harbors a fatal vulnerability that no one expects, a weakness hidden in the very act of sustaining its own colossal body. To understand why the Acilia pride failed, one must first understand the weaponry of the opponent standing before them, an animal armed from skull to hoof. The Maasai giraffe is the tallest land animal on the planet, towering above the thorn-veiled canopy. Height is not merely an advantage of vision, it is a shield of defense. Atop each giraffe's skull sit skin-covered bony structures called ossicones, not true horns, but weapons forged through millennia of combat within the species. When two males compete for mating rights, they perform a ritual called necking, swinging necks longer than 6 feet into each other with force enough to shatter a rival's jawbone. The heart of a giraffe weighs 24 pounds, the largest of any land animal, a muscular engine pumping blood upward against gravity through a neck spanning over 6 feet. A specialized circulatory system with one-way valves regulates blood pressure at twice the level found in humans, preventing fatal surges when the animal raises or lowers its head. Without this system, every bow of the head to drink would trigger a stroke, and every lift would cause the brain to starve for oxygen within seconds. But the most formidable weapon is not on the head. It is in the legs. Each one a bony column, capable of delivering strikes with devastating precision. A single giraffe kick carries enough force to kill a full-grown lion. The hooves, hardened and broad as dinner plates, strike with the impact of a sledgehammer. Shattered skulls, broken ribs, these are not theories, but field observations documented across decades of study by researchers from the Serengeti to the Kalahari. A tongue stretching 20 inches long, coated in dark melanin that shields against ultraviolet rays, allows them to strip thorny acacia leaves without a scratch, feeding where no competitor dares. They sleep only 30 minutes to 2 hours each day, divided into micronaps lasting seconds. In a landscape patrolled by lions and hyenas, deep sleep is a death sentence. Even during birth, a mother giraffe remains standing. The calf drops from a height above 6 feet, a brutal fall onto hard ground, yet essential to trigger the first breath. The newborn must stand within 1 hour, or become a meal for lurking predators. Those shaky first steps determine whether the calf lives to see the following dawn. Only 50 to 75% of giraffe calves survive to adulthood. Lions are the primary cause of mortality, followed by spotted hyenas and leopards hunting under darkness. Giraffe mothers organize a creche system, taking turns guarding the young, while others feed across distant acacia groves. Even giants require community to raise their offspring. But the giraffe is not the only creature that forces the Asilia pride to pay a price in bruises, broken bones, and failed hunts across Ruaha's unforgiving terrain. Cape buffalo, a 2,000-pound mass of muscle-bearing horns capable of piercing a truck panel, approach every threat with aggression written into their very nature. When the lion pride approaches, Cape buffalo do not flee. They pivot, forming a wall of horns, a barricade of bone that punishes any attacker reckless enough to charge head-on. This is not passive defense. The Cape buffalo is one of the few species that actively counterattacks lions pursuing them with a fury that reverses the roles of hunter and hunted. When a calf is separated from the herd, the entire group charges forward, not to escape but to retaliate. Horns slash, hooves trample, and lions are forced into trees to save their lives. The maternal bond among Cape buffalo runs so deep that even a male lion twice the weight of a lioness will not risk a confrontation when the full herd of 500 or more assembles. Burchell's zebra fights by a different philosophy, not with numbers, but with position, where every member of the family unit knows precisely where to stand during an attack. The lead stallion always holds the rear, placing itself between the pursuers and the young. It sacrifices forward vision to protect what lies behind, a calculated trade only experience teaches. The harem structure, one stallion, several mares and foals, forms a compact yet effective fighting unit, bonded through years of mutual grooming and shared vigilance. And when cornered, a zebra wheels around, delivering a reverse kick, powerful enough to shatter the jaw of any predator that ventures too close, sometimes killing hyenas outright. With a single-chambered stomach and hindgut fermentation, zebras process even coarse, mature grasses that ruminants ignore, extracting calories from vegetation other grazers cannot digest. They are the pioneers of the grassland, clearing tall, fibrous stems to expose tender shoots beneath for the antelope and gazelles that follow in their wake. This sequential grazing relationship, zebras leading, antelope trailing, stands as one of the savanna's most silent alliances, an ecological partnership older than any human civilization. Even the wildebeest, the lion's most familiar quarry, refuses to surrender quietly when cornered at the river's edge during the punishing heat of dry season. A wildebeest bull abruptly turns, rears upward, and drives its horns straight into a lion's chest. Sometimes, the most desperate resistance proves the most effective defense against a predator. Nearly 1.5 million wildebeest migrate through this region each year, crossing 3,000 miles in an endless circuit driven by the search for fresh grazing and seasonal rainfall. Approximately 80% of wildebeest calves are born within a 2 to 3 week window, a strategy designed to overwhelm predators through sheer volume, flooding the plains with young. But even that tactic only delays the inevitable. When the dry season tightens its grip, water vanishes, and prey is funneled toward the last remaining pools along the Great Ruaha. and there the Assylia pride waits. Yet even a fortress has cracks, and this starving empire is about to face enemies more dangerous than any prey it has pursued. Three weeks without a proper meal. The cubs cry at night, a thin mewling sound that carries across the still air and reveals the pride's position to every listening ear. The Assylia pride decides to try for zebra. Two lionesses take the lead, crawling along a dry stream bed, closing on a herd drinking at the water's edge beneath scattered acacias. But the adult male, heavy and impatient, breaks cover too early. His labored breathing shatters the silence. The zebra herd erupts, scattering into a cloud of golden dust. Another failed hunt. The raw power of the male, the weapon that can bring down a buffalo, becomes a liability when stealth is required, and every sound betrays the ambush. The following day, the target shifts to wildebeest. Three lionesses coordinate a flanking maneuver, driving the prey toward a dry riverbank where the crumbling soil limits escape routes. But the temperature has surpassed 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Lions possess no sweat glands. They can only shed heat by panting, tongues lolling, burning through precious energy with every gasping breath. After 40 seconds of pursuit, lactic acid floods the muscles. Legs grow leaden. The wildebeest surges ahead in the final stretch, vanishing behind a line of tamarind trees. The Assylia pride collapses onto the ground, gasping. Core body temperature spikes above 104 degrees Fahrenheit without shade within 10 minutes. Heat stroke becomes a genuine and lethal threat. Here lies the cruel paradox. The lion is an apex predator, yet physiology imposes severe limits. No sweat glands, no capacity for prolonged chase, no tolerance for the equatorial midday sun. Ruaha, in the dry season, transforms lions from rulers into prisoners of their own shade, confined to the shadows, hunting only when the temperature dips toward bearable. The next attempt targets buffalo, but this time the prey does not run. It turns, lowers its massive boss of fused horn, and faces the pride with unyielding defiance. A buffalo cow stands firm, shielding her calf behind her massive flank. The lionesses encircle, but when they rush in, the entire herd wheels around in formation. A wall of horns rises. 600 pounds of force drives forward. One lioness is hurled through the air, tumbling across the parched earth in a spray of red dust. The maternal bond among buffalo overpowers any hunting tactic the Assylia pride can devise. The herd will sacrifice speed for solidarity, and that solidarity is lethal. The lioness rises, limping badly. The shoulder wound will haunt her for days, stiffening with each cold dawn. She is the pride's most skilled and experienced hunter. Losing their lead huntress, the Assylia dynasty teeters like an acacia torn from its roots by a flood, exposed and vulnerable from every direction. Then the elephants arrive grey mountains, moving through the Mayombo woodland, their feet cracking branches, their rumbles vibrating through the ground at frequencies below human hearing. A solitary lioness encounters an African elephant at the Waterhole, a place where both species need water to survive, but only one commands absolute authority. The elephant stamps the dusty ground, sending tremors through the earth that ripple outward for dozens of feet. It swings its trunk, hurling red soil skyward in warning. The lioness steps back, not from fear, but from instinct, the knowledge encoded through generations that no fight with an elephant is worth losing everything over. The African elephant, the heaviest land creature on the planet, capable of drinking over 50 gallons of water per day, is the undisputed sovereign of every waterhole it visits. In Ruaha, even the apex of the food chain must yield to 6 tons of bone and muscle. Hierarchy here is measured in weight, and the elephant outweighs all arguments. But hunger is not the only threat. As night falls, a different sound rises from the darkness, the bone-chilling laughter of spotted hyenas echoing along the dry riverbed. The Ruaha hyena clan, a matriarchal society numbering up to 100 members, operates under a female-dominated hierarchy, more rigid and complex than that of any primate troop. Females rule. From within the womb, androgen hormones flood the female embryo, producing daughters that are more aggressive, larger, and stronger than the males from birth onward. Rank is inherited from the mother. A queen's daughter is born into aristocracy, automatically outranking every male and every subordinate female's offspring within the clan structure. With a bite force of 1,100 pounds per square inch is enough to crush the thigh bone of a buffalo, spotted hyenas are not scavengers. They are formidable predators and direct competitors of lions. And tonight, they have caught the scent of blood from the wounded lioness, struck by the buffalo, a trail of iron and weakness carried on the warm evening breeze. Six hyenas circle in the darkness, their staccato giggles echoing without pause, not from amusement, but as coordinated attack signals calibrated to test the pride's resolve. The Acelia male, weighing nearly 450 pounds, emerges from the shadows, his dark mane bristling. His roar resonates across 5 miles of silent night, shaking the air itself. The hyenas withdraw into the thorn scrub, but they do not leave the vicinity. They simply wait in the darkness, patient as stone, for any sign of further weakness. The fission-fusion social system of spotted hyenas allows them to splinter into small scouting parties and reassemble into a unified, overwhelming clan force at any moment of opportunity. One never knows whether the encounter involves 6 individuals or 60, and that uncertainty alone is enough to keep even the most seasoned pride on constant alert. Male hyenas leave their natal clan upon reaching maturity between 2 and 3 years old, wandering in search of a new clan, starting from the bottom of the social ladder, but the females remain, inheriting power. A greater danger looms on the horizon. 2 unfamiliar males have been spotted at the edge of the territory, their scent fresh on the boundary marking stones. If they infiltrate successfully, the law of nature has already written the outcome: every cub in the pride will be killed to bring the females back into estrus. The 4 Acilia cubs, less than 3 months old, still nursing, still blind to the politics of territory, would be the first targets of any incoming males. The Acilia pride fights on too many fronts. Hunger ahead, hyenas flanking, invaders behind. The weight of survival presses from every direction without mercy or reprieve. But in Ruaha, lions are not the only ones confronting the equation of survival. Other predators have chosen an entirely opposite path, trading strength for velocity. The cheetah, a biological instrument honed by 40 million years of evolution for a single purpose: velocity. 0 to 70 miles per hour in 3 seconds, accelerating faster than most production supercars. But speed carries a cost. Light bones, a slender frame, a weak jaw, the cheetah wins the race but loses the war. Any larger rival can steal its hard-earned meal. A female cheetah lives in solitude, bearing the burden of raising cubs, hunting, and defending a territory spanning up to 1,500 square miles entirely alone across open grassland. Males are different. They form coalitions, typically 2 to 3 brothers from the same mother, and, in exceedingly rare cases, a coalition of 5 males emerges like the legendary Tano Bora of the Masai Mara. Across the entire world, only about 7,100 cheetahs remain scattered across fragmented habitats, hemmed in by agriculture, roads, and the expanding footprint of human settlement. "90% of the species shares a nearly identical genetic blueprint, the consequence of a near-extinction bottleneck 10,000 years ago that left the population perilously vulnerable to disease. Mortality among cheetah cubs in their first 3 months reaches 70 to 90%, driven primarily by lions and hyenas. Every cub that reaches independence defies odds that would extinguish most bloodlines. A mother cheetah detects a leopard advancing toward her litter, its spotted form ghosting through the tall grass. The odds are stacked against her. A leopard is heavier and stronger. This is the phenomenon of competitor killing, a behavior documented across African carnivore guilds, where eliminating future rivals confers a survival advantage regardless of hunger. But maternal instinct overrides every calculation of risk. The mother charges in, snarling with fury, hackles raised to exaggerate her size, and forces the intruder to retreat. Boldness prevails. Thousands of miles from Ruaha, in Zambia's Luangwa Valley, known as the Valley of the Leopard, a contrasting story unfolds beneath a canopy of ebony and mahogany. A pregnant female leopard hunts alone through the night, her rosette-patterned coat dissolving into shadow. Her distinctive rasping call rings out, declaring territorial sovereignty across the valley. 3 days later, concealed in a rock den beyond any line of sight, 3 leopard cubs are born, eyes sealed shut, each weighing less than a pound, utterly dependent on their mother. By day 7, they take their first crawling steps across the cool stone floor. The mother licks away every trace of scent, because here, scent is a death warrant. The maternal bond in leopards persists for 18 to 24 months, among the longest of any great cat. Every hunting skill, from stalking to climbing, must be taught individually. The mother leaves the den and brings down an impala at the water's edge. With strength refined across millions of years, she hauls the carcass equal to her own body weight up into a tree. But safety is relative. A pack of African wild dogs appears 15 strong, boasting an 80% hunt success rate, the highest of any large African predator on the savanna. The African wild dog, the second most endangered large carnivore on the continent, with only about 6,600 mature individuals surviving in isolated pockets across sub-Saharan Africa. They surround the base of the tree, barking incessantly, their painted coats flashing in the dappled light. The mother leopard lies frozen on the branch, gripping the carcass with locked claws. Eventually, the wild dog pack moves on, following the scent of easier quarry. But the meal is lost. The fastest dog has already snatched the fallen meat from the ground. The price of solitude. There is no one to provide cover, no ally to share the watch. The Asilia pride at least has each other. A leopard has only itself and its wits. Pride or solitary, each path exacts a toll that nature demands be paid in full, with interest compounded across every season, every hunt, every sleepless night. If the struggle for survival in Ruaha captivates, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Every voice strengthens this community of wildlife enthusiasts. But the Asilia story is far from over. Back in Ruaha, the conflict escalates as the river recedes further and the pools shrink to mirrors of red mud. Cape buffalo, 2,000 pounds of muscle and horn, demand the brute strength of a male lion to bring down. But the Asilia male cannot be everywhere at once. He must patrol the territory, scent-mark boundaries, and watch for intruders, a circuit that spans miles of scorched terrain. The male's power is stretched dangerously thin. When 3 lionesses attempt to take buffalo without the male's support, the result is catastrophic, a lesson written in bruised ribs and limping bodies. The buffalo herd does not run. They pivot, forming ranks a wall of horns rising like a steel forest, their collective breath steaming in the early morning chill. Then they advance. Three lionesses are driven back across the clearing, then pinned against the base of a baobab, its trunk too smooth to climb, offering neither shelter nor escape. Under moonlight, a Nile crocodile slides into the shallow river where prey fleeing the lions unwittingly races straight into the jaws of another predator lurking just beneath the surface. Ruaha leaves no room for error. Every stride away from one killer can lead directly into the mouth of another. The margin between survival and death is measured in heartbeats. The Acilia pride stands at the edge of oblivion. Bodies wasted, wounds unhealed, hyenas probing without cease, and the foreign males still circling somewhere beyond the tree line. The four gaunt cubs press against their mothers, mewling softly. The communal nursing system allows mothers to take turns feeding, but no lioness produces enough milk on an empty stomach. Only two paths remain, rise or vanish into Ruaha's history, alongside every dynasty that came before them, leaving nothing but scattered bones and fading paw prints in the dust. But nature does not write scripts for those who surrender, and the Acilia pride, after all the failures, the wounds, and the hungry nights, begins to adapt from within. Not through strength alone, through intelligence, reading the land, studying prey patterns, and turning the dry season's cruelty into a weapon of ambush and calculated patience. The oldest lioness, the veteran who has led hundreds of hunts across every season, observes from a granite ridge. She no longer charges headlong, she waits and watches. The pride gathers at the last remaining pool along the Great Ruaha, not to drink, but to ambush whatever arrives at the water's edge, driven by a thirst it cannot resist. This is a strategy only battle-hardened prides master, letting the prey come to them, conserving precious energy while the sun and drought do the work of funneling targets. During the Ruaha dry season, water becomes the perfect trap. Every creature, strong or frail, predator or prey, must come to drink or perish within days. Seven lionesses split into two groups. Three lie concealed along the southern bank, where low scrub hides their tawny silhouettes. The remaining four circle to the northern approach. The pincer is set a formation perfected over generations of communal hunting, where each lioness knows her role as precisely as soldiers in a disciplined regiment. A small herd of impala, 8 animals, approaches the water's edge, cautious with every step. Nostrils flare, ears pivot in all directions, scanning for the scent of danger. The shoulder-wounded lioness lies still as carved stone. She can no longer sprint, but she can serve as a decoy holding position, steering prey toward her waiting teammates. The instant the lead impala dips its head to drink, the 4 northern lionesses erupt from cover, not to catch but to drive the herd southward in controlled panic. The impala panic, bolting due south directly into the 3 lionesses waiting in ambush among the low scrub, invisible until the final, fatal second. In under 4 seconds, one impala is brought down, neck seized, body crumpling into the dust. The first meal in weeks sends tremors of energy through the pride. not a feast. A single impala feeds only 2 lionesses to satiation, but it marks a turning point, proof that the new tactic of patience and precision works. The cubs, 4 gaunt youngsters, receive the smallest portions, scraps the mothers relinquish from their jaws. In the world of lions, the young do not eat first. Energy returns slowly. Eyes brighten behind dust-caked lids. Strides grow steadier across the cracked riverbed. Muscles begin to remember what power once felt like. For the first time in weeks, the lionesses lie beside one another, grooming their companions with rough tongues. Social bonds are reinforced. A pride survives only when each member stands for the rest. The next hunt targets zebra, but this time the strategy is entirely different, rebuilt from the ground up using lessons paid for in failure and injury. Instead of chasing under the searing sun, the Asilia pride waits for dusk when the temperature drops and muscles are no longer threatened by the crippling onset of heat stroke. The 2 fastest lionesses flank from opposite directions, cutting an aging zebra away from the herd. The lead stallion turns back to defend, but arrives a fatal second too late. The lesson drawn from defeat: never pursue the strongest individual. Target the slowest, the old, the weak, the sick, and let natural selection guide the kill. Nature does not judge cruelty, it judges only inefficiency. A wasted hunt costs calories the pride cannot afford, and calories are the currency of empires in Ruaha. The wounded lioness, the pride's finest hunter, rejoins the coordinated effort for the first time since the buffalo strike, limping but determined. Her shoulder still aches with each stride, but she assumes the role of interceptor rather than pursuer. A decade of experience compensates for the speed her injury has stolen. The Asilia pride has found its rhythm, again a coordinated hunting machine honed by starvation. But the greatest test has yet to come, waiting at the waterhole. The giraffe, the giant that defeated the Asilia pride at the outset, still roams freely across the territory, browsing the high canopy beyond the reach of other herbivores. The success rate for lions hunting giraffe falls below 30%. This is the most challenging quarry on the savanna and the most rewarding, offering enough meat to sustain a pride for days. Then, on a single late afternoon as the sky turns copper and vermilion, what the Asilia pride has waited weeks for finally arrives at the water's edge. A Maasai giraffe approaches the waterhole alone. Its front legs begin to splay awkwardly, lowering that neck, stretching more than 6 feet slowly toward the glinting surface. This is the moment that evolution cannot protect, the 3 to 4 seconds of vulnerability that no amount of height or kicking power can defend against. When a giraffe drinks, the entire circulatory system, the 2-4-pound heart, blood pressure at twice human levels, is forced into a perilous position between gravity and consciousness. One-way valves in the jugular veins prevent blood from surging into the brain in the descent, a marvel of cardiovascular engineering unique among living mammals. But the very mechanism meant to protect becomes a shackle. With its head lowered, a giraffe cannot rise instantly. It needs at least 3 to 4 seconds for the system to recalibrate. Three to 4 seconds. In the predator's world, that is a lifetime, an eternity in which fortune shifts from the hunted to the hunter in a single breath. The Acilia pride has watched for weeks, has learned the giraffe's schedule, has waited with the patience of stone for precisely this configuration of time and place. Four lionesses press flat against the earth, unhurried this time, breathing through open mouths. The distance shrinks to 65 feet, then 50, then 30. The wind holds still. The giraffe lowers its head, lips touch water. The surface ripples outward in widening rings, the last peaceful moment before the world ignites. Four tawny shapes explode upward in unison. One leaps onto the broad back, claws locked deep into the hide. Two others strike the flanks. The fourth seizes the rear hamstring. The combined weight of 4 lionesses still falls short of half the giraffe's mass, but they know precisely where to bite the tendons, the throat, the soft tissue behind the skull. The giraffe bellows a sound few living humans have ever witnessed and struggles to rise on legs, trembling with adrenaline. But the weight of 4 attackers drags it earthward. The battle stretches on for nearly 15 minutes under a bruised violet sky. The giraffe refuses to fall. Its strength, even under assault from 4 predators, remains staggering. At last, drained of blood and energy, the giant buckles. Its knees strike the earth. Red dust billows upward in a slow cloud. Silence descends across the waterhole. The Acilia male arrives afterward, drawn by the scent of the kill. A low rumble, not a threat, but a declaration of feeding priority. In lion society, the male eats first. The largest feast of the dry season. A single adult giraffe provides enough meat to sustain the entire pride for nearly a week. Bones, marrow, hide, and all. Vultures have already gathered overhead, wheeling in patient spirals, casting moving shadows across the kill site. They will consume the remains. Nothing goes to waste in Ruaha. But victory comes at a cost. A dynasty is built upon the downfall of another. That is the law Ruaha writes in blood and dust across the generations. The following day, a second opportunity appears on the heat-shimmered horizon. A mother giraffe and her young calf move near the waterhole, unaware of the pride lying in wait. The Acilia pride does not hesitate. The same tactic targeting the vulnerable moment of drinking. The mother giraffe attempts to shield her calf, but the lion's coordinated instinct strikes faster. 2 consecutive large kills in as many days. The Acilia pride steps back from the precipice of collapse into a phase of recovery, bellies distended, muscles regaining tone. The emotional gravity of that moment, an empire surviving on the death of another, is the inescapable truth of Ruaha, where every triumph carries the shadow of loss. Empires do not always crumble from the outside. Sometimes, patience itself, waiting for an adversary to reveal its own weakness, becomes the decisive weapon wielded by the desperate. The punishing cycle of Ruaha demands not only strength but memory, the ability to learn from failure and forge it into triumph against the next season's trials. Bellies full, wounds beginning to heal beneath crusted scabs. The Acilia pride sinks into deep sleep, the state researchers call a meat coma, the heavy slumber following a massive kill. But even in sleep, social instinct persists. Ears twitch at distant sounds. A lioness shifts to cover a cub with her paw. Protection continues, even in unconsciousness. Two lionesses lie pressed together, licking each other's wounds with slow deliberation. Lion saliva contains antibacterial enzymes. Grooming is not merely affection, but battlefield medicine refined by evolution. They rub heads against each other, the ritual of head-rubbing blending scents to create a collective odor. In lion society, a shared scent is identity, the line between ally and enemy. The 4 cubs, full-bellied for the first time in weeks, begin to play beneath the dappled shade of an acacia, their movements loose and unguarded. They pounce on their mother's tails, tumble across dry grass, and stalk one another in mock ambushes. This is not a game, this is a classroom, where survival is the only syllabus. Every pounce, every mock ambush, every clumsy leap, sharpens the instincts that the future will demand when these cubs must hunt for themselves or starve. In 6 weeks, they will leave the nursery to officially join the pride on hunts. But for now, the creche system remains in operation, mothers, rotating between nursing and standing guard. Whichever mother needs to hunt entrusts her cubs to a companion. Upon returning, she calls with a distinctive low rumble, and the cubs recognize their own mother's voice among dozens of sounds. Within the Acilia dynasty, no lioness raises her young alone. The burden of motherhood is shared across every female, a cooperative bond that separates lions from all other great cats. Mating season begins as the first distant clouds hint at rain. The Acilia male devotes his attention to each lioness in turn, mating repeatedly over several days with each partner. In a few months, the pregnant lionesses will seek secluded spots to give birth. They will relocate the cubs every 3 to 4 days, shifting positions before scent accumulates and betrays them. The next generation is being sown into Ruaha's dust. But for that generation to survive beyond infancy, the dynasty must endure long enough to raise them. The 2 unfamiliar males, the threat from the territory's edge, have vanished into the Mayombo woodland. Perhaps they sensed the Acilia pride had recovered its strength and cohesion. But the threat will return. In Ruaha, there is always someone waiting, another coalition, another clan, another drought circling the edges of every empire. Every night the hyenas come back, their eerie laughter rising from the riverbank, probing for cracks in the pride's defense, testing whether exhaustion has opened a gap. But this time, the Acilia pride holds firm without flinching. 7 lionesses form a line, shoulder to shoulder, the male roaring from behind them like rolling thunder. The hyenas retreat into the scrubland shadows. Not forever, but today, the empire still stands, its territory intact, its cubs alive and growing. Ruaha stretches out in silence beneath a sky scoured clean by wind. The great Ruaha River, a lifeline bled nearly dry, still releases its final drops, keeping the cycle turning. Power here is never permanent. The dry season will return with its familiar cruelty. Another pride will challenge. Invaders will come searching for territory and breeding rights. That is the cycle of Ruaha. No permanent victors, only those who have not yet lost. The land remembers every dynasty and forgets none. Since the 1990s, the flow of the Great Ruaha has plummeted by 80%, drained by upstream agricultural irrigation that diverts water long before it reaches the park's parched lowlands. The river that sustains 10% of the world's lions is slowly running dry, and with it, the future of every species that depends upon its seasonal pulse. The national park's elevation ranges from 2,500 to nearly 6,000 feet, creating temperature variations and habitat diversity that nurture hundreds of species, drawn from both southern and eastern Africa. But all that diversity hinges upon a single variable: water. Remove it, and the entire web predator, prey, scavenger, and seed collapses in sequence. Protecting Ruaha means more than safeguarding lions. It means preserving an entire ecological web, from giraffes to hyenas, from cheetahs to crocodiles, all tethered to one diminishing river. Over 20,000 square miles of wilderness, one of Tanzania's least visited national parks, still retains a primordial character that much of Africa has already surrendered to development: agriculture. But that primordial character is more fragile than anyone imagines, a single failed rainy season away from tipping into irreversible decline. The Acilia pride rests on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley. 7 silhouettes etched against the blazing red of a Ruaha sunset, their breathing slow and synchronized. Nothing like the spent figures at the beginning of this story. Now, in their amber eyes, something different resides, not despair, but the vigilance of those who have returned from the edge. In the Wild Kingdom, hunger drives everything, but even the strongest predator must guard what lies behind, for the future of any dynasty rests with its youngest members. The dry season has not passed, but the Asilia pride remains battered, leaner, wiser. The dynasty holds because it learned to bend before it broke. And in Ruaha, as long as the river still flows, even if only its last drops trickle across sun-bleached stone, the struggle continues without pause. Not a war of the strong against the weak, but a war of life against forgetting, fought every hour, across every season, beneath skies that offer neither mercy nor reprieve. Thank you for journeying with WildVerse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. Until the next adventure, stay wild, stay curious. If you have not yet subscribed to WildVerse, now is the moment. Every creature carries within it an extraordinary story, and we will continue to bring them to light. In the tall grass under the East African sun, something small is stirring barely 3 pounds. Eyes still sealed shut, utterly helpless. Lion cubs are born blind. In the first week of life, they see nothing but darkness entirely dependent on the warmth and scent of their mother. A lioness separates from her pride weeks before giving birth, seeking a hidden thicket to deliver her young far from every threat, including the males within her own pride. Because the greatest danger to a lion cub is not a hyena, not a snake, not an eagle. It is a new male who has just seized the pride. When a new coalition of males overthrows the old king, the first thing they do is kill every cub. Not cruelty, but the coldest calculation evolution has ever produced. The cubs carry the old male's genes. A mother who loses her young will be ready to mate again within weeks. This is the mathematics of life and of death. "60% of lion cubs do not survive to the age of 2. New males, hyenas, starvation, disease, all waiting in line. To be born a lion is already a gamble." The ground trembles. Heavy footsteps echo from the edge of the territory, the silhouette of a new male coalition. A mother presses her cubs flat against the earth, draping her body over them. Not breathing, not moving. But a lioness does not fight alone. Several females in a pride give birth around the same time, and this is no coincidence. When multiple mothers raise their young together, the cubs are guarded around the clock, and survival rates climb sharply. A communal nursery takes shape, lionesses nursing each other's cubs, taking turns standing guard, sharing the burden of parenthood, altruism or selfish genes. The answer is both. "3 weeks old, the eyes open for the first time. The world floods in with light. First steps wobble across the grass, then a tumble, then up again, then another fall. Six weeks, the cubs begin exploring everything in sight. Blades of grass, passing butterflies, and above all, their mother's tail, the first and favorite toy. A vulture's shadow drifts overhead. The mother springs to her feet. A circling vulture means a predator is nearby. She growls low, herds the cubs behind her, turns her back outward, bracing for whatever is coming. But for lion cubs, play is never just entertainment. Every game is a neural pathway being wired inside the brain. The young ones wrestle 4 to 5 hours each day. Every pounce, every mock bite, every clumsy chase programs hunting skills into their developing minds, forging new connections with every stumble. Stalking a butterfly failure, leaping onto their mother's back, shaken off instantly, chasing the shadow of a sparrow running the wrong direction entirely. "100% of first hunts end in failure. But they must fail, because only failure teaches success." The weakest cub in the litter cannot keep up. It lies behind in the scorching sun, exhausted. The mother turns back, grips its scruff, drags it home. This time, but a mother cannot always turn back in time. Six to 7 months, the weaning crisis begins. The shift from milk to meat, and the cubs have no idea what to do with the flesh placed before them. A lioness brings food back, tears it into smaller pieces, lets her young watch every motion. This is not instinct, it is education. Every meal is a lesson. But not every cub has a mother by its side. To be orphaned in the wild is usually a death sentence, but among lions, something remarkable sometimes happens. Researchers have documented cases where a lioness adopts orphaned cubs, even those that carry none of her genes, nursing them, protecting them, teaching them as if they were her own. Hyenas, 3 of them. In broad daylight, they advance straight toward the playing cubs. The mother charges, her jaws snap shut inches from the lead hyena's face. They retreat, but they do not leave. "18 months old, a young lion follows its mother into the open grassland for the first time, watching from a distance, learning to read the wind, learning to judge distance, learning the hardest lesson of all, patience." Two to 3 years old, the final trial arrives for the young males. They are driven from the pride. No territory, no protection. 60% will not survive the nomad years. A young male looks back at the pride one last time. His mother lies there, eyes on him, but she does not stand. The boundary has been drawn. He walks into the endless grass, alone. the survivors will find each other forming coalitions of brothers, wandering together, fighting together, conquering a new pride together. Brotherhood is a weapon sharper than any fang. And somewhere on the sunlit plain, a lioness lies on her side, eyes half closed, her tail still flicking because 4 small lives cling to her flank, knowing nothing of the world that waits ahead. The instinct to protect the next generation, the highest price and the greatest reward nature ever gives, does not belong to lions alone. Because on this planet, every wild place has mothers willing to sacrifice everything, and every new generation must prove itself worthy of the gift of being born. "6,000 miles from this savanna, on a continent where fire is not the enemy but the ancient heartbeat of renewal, every living creature faces the same question. Where crimson soil cracks under the sun, where grasslands burn to ash and rise again each season, and where dry streams still nourish life beneath the earth, a wilderness most of the world has never heard of is fighting to survive. How does the next generation survive when the earth burns, the water runs dry, and more than half of home has already vanished? Under the scorching sun of the largest tropical savanna on Earth, the answer lies hidden in the magical land that we will explore shortly. And the fight for the next generation here is fiercer than any African grassland has ever known. In the pale moonlight filtering through the gallery forest, a dark shape glides across a shallow stream without a sound. Its eyes catch the light, the eyes of a creature the ancient Maya once called the messenger between the mortal world and the divine. That is a jaguar, and the land it crosses is not the Amazon nor the Pantanal. This is the Cerrado, the largest tropical savanna on Earth, where fire is not the enemy, but the ancient breath of life itself. More than half its original expanse has already vanished. Only 8% lies under strict protection, and most of the world has never heard its name. But when the fires die and the water runs dry, what keeps it all from falling apart? Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the grandest mysteries of the natural world. The answer lives in the footsteps of 10 extraordinary species, creatures that have evolved over millions of years to endure fire and drought, flood and darkness. The Cerrado stretches across nearly 800,000 square miles, covering more than 21% of Brazil's landmass. It threads through the states of Goiás, Mato Grosso, Tocantins, Minas Gerais and Maranhão, then quietly extends into Bolivia and Paraguay. It does not touch the sea. It borders no ocean. Yet the Cerrado is the cradle of South America's water. From the Planalto Central, an ancient bedrock plateau formed over 600 million years ago during the Precambrian era, 3 of the continent's greatest river basins are born. The Amazon, the San Francisco, and the Paraná. Beneath its rolling hills, groundwater quietly sustains the flow that millions of people depend on without ever knowing it. The Guarani and Urucuya aquifers, 2 of the largest underground water systems in South America, run silently beneath this savanna, supplying drinking water to over 40 million Brazilians. When forests are cleared, the land's ability to channel rainwater into these underground reserves drops sharply, threatening not only the ecosystem, but also the clean water supply for agriculture and cities alike. The soil here runs deep red, rich in aluminum, poor in nutrients, and so acidic that few ordinary trees can take root. But the Cerrado has no need for ordinary trees. In the lowlands, grasslands stretch to the horizon, broken only by low shrubs. Elsewhere, the savanna merges with open woodland trees, with rounded canopies, thick bark, and roots that plunge deep into the earth. These traits are no accident. They are the result of millions of years of evolution, shaped to withstand drought and the fires that return each season. Since time immemorial, this land has been home to indigenous communities, the Kraho, the Zavante, the Bororo cultures whose ceremonies and beliefs are inseparable from the very ground beneath their feet. And across the dry grasslands, the tall, slender silhouette of the maned wolf, the largest wild canid in South America, still moves quietly through the landscape like a living legend of the Cerrado. Yet, while the maned wolf embodies the slender grace of a nomad, elsewhere on these grasslands, a far stranger silhouette emerges, a creature seemingly assembled from fragments of a bygone era. This is the giant anteater, among the most ancient surviving icons of this landscape. Stretching up to 6 feet 7 inches from snout to tail, this creature appears to have wandered straight from a surrealist's canvas. Its coarse pelage, bearing a striking black diagonal stripe, allows it to dissolve seamlessly into the dappled shadows of the thorny scrub. Yet its true mastery relies not upon sight, but rather an olfactory sense 40 times sharper than our own. It is questing for earthen fortresses, the concrete hard termite mounds scattered across the savanna. Upon locating its quarry, the animal deploys foreclaws up to 4 inches long, honed like razors, to breach the formidable defenses, a feat demanding immense muscular power. As the fortress walls crumble, the ultimate weapon is revealed, a tongue extending over 24 inches, coated in highly adhesive saliva. Darting in and out at a staggering 150 times a minute, this remarkable appendage harvests thousands of termites in mere moments. It never completely destroys a colony. Acting as a prudent harvester, it always leaves enough survivors for the mound to rebuild. Amidst the sweltering 95-degree Fahrenheit heat of the Cerrado, that immense bushy tail serves as far more than mere adornment. While resting, it curls up and drapes the appendage over itself like a thermal blanket, stabilizing its temperature and providing camouflage against potential adversaries. The giant anteater is a living testament to evolutionary endurance, a creature devoid of teeth or fleetness, yet commanding one of the savanna's most abundant resources through absolute finesse and silent strength. The climate here splits the world into two opposing halves. The wet season stretches from October to April, delivering an average of 1,200 to 2,000 millimeters of rainfall per year. Then the dry season arrives from May to September, with almost no rain at all. Daytime temperatures regularly exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity drops below 30%. Yet it is precisely within this harshness that the Cerrado harbors a biological treasure few suspect. More than 10,000 plant species, nearly half, found nowhere else on Earth. (935 species of birds, 200 species of mammals, over 270 species of reptiles and amphibians, and tens of thousands of insects. (10,000 plant species, 935 species of birds, and a dry season that lasts 5 months without a single drop of rain. Every link in this chain, no matter how small, is irreplaceable within this vast web of ecological balance. And when May arrives, the water retreats like a broken promise. Imas National Park, over 500 square miles of open grassland in the heart of Brazil, becomes one of the dry season's most unforgiving stages. Thin, acidic, nutrient-poor soil. Wildfires erupt, but not to destroy. Here, fire triggers the regeneration of vegetation, maintaining the equilibrium that this ecosystem has evolved to depend upon. And across that scorched grassland, a tawny shape moves without a sound. The cougar, also known as the puma, the mountain lion, the catamount, the panther, over 40 different names, all referring to a single species. It is the land mammal with the widest range in the Americas, from the frozen Yukon of Canada to the arid Andes of southern Peru, And right here, in the heart of the continent, where the Cerrado sprawls and gallery forests cling to riverbanks, the cougar has carved out its own domain. Its hind legs, the most powerful of any wild cat coil like compressed springs. In an instant, the cougar launches nearly 18 feet into the air, covering more than 30 feet in a single bound, like a living arrow. The impact lasts only seconds. Fangs lock onto the neck, claws grip tight. The prey is pinned before it can react. But the cougar does not eat in haste. It drags the carcass to the forest edge, carefully concealing it beneath dry leaves and decaying branches, a cache for the unpredictable days of drought ahead. A single large kill can sustain it for 4 to 6 days. Unlike the taiga or the lion, with their resonant roars, the cougar communicates through an astonishing range of sounds, hisses, howls, and sometimes a scream that tears through the night. Females carry their young for approximately 90 days before giving birth to 1 to 6 cubs. Dark spots running along the backs of the young help them blend into the damp leaf litter. They stay with their mother for 2 years, learning each step of the stalk, reading the wind and avoiding other predators, including the jaguar. In the food chain, the cougar plays the role of balance keeper. By controlling herbivore populations, it helps forests regenerate and prevents overgrazing. In areas where cougars maintain a regular presence, the understory and mid-level vegetation grow noticeably healthier than in areas where they are absent. And as the rains continue to fall across the Cerrado, the faint tracks of the cougar printed in the wet soil remain a reminder that this land has never lacked a hunter. But the cougar is not the only creature that has made Imars its home. Heavier footsteps echo across the cracked red earth, the footsteps of the largest native bird in the Americas. The greater rhea stands nearly 5.5 feet tall and weighs up to 90 pounds among the largest birds in the world. It cannot fly, but its long, muscular legs allow it to reach speeds of 40 miles per hour fast enough to outrun most predators. Three toes, not four like the majority of birds, an evolutionary trait that enables rapid movement across dry, uneven terrain. Its wings are not built for flight, but function as rudders, enabling sharp directional changes mid-sprint, a seamless combination of speed and strategy. But the most remarkable thing about the greater rhea is not its legs. Unlike most birds, it is the male that takes on the role of nest builder. After constructing a nest on the ground, the male courts up to 12 females to lay their eggs. A single nest can hold as many as 50. When the females leave, the male stays, incubating the eggs alone for 35 to 40 days, raising the chicks alone for 6 full months. He does not merely protect them from predators, he sometimes even adopts stray chicks from other broods. The greatest single father in the avian world. Across the scorched grasslands, his footsteps sound like a drumbeat of resilience. Not just a swift runner, the great rhea is also a capable swimmer. It uses its neck and wings to navigate the shallow streams scattered across the savanna, a skill that grants access to the scarce water sources remaining in the dry season. Outside the breeding season, greater rheas live in flocks of 10 to 100, depending on conditions. A flexible diet is their key survival advantage. As omnivores, they consume a wide range of foods: broad leaves, grasses, seeds, fruits, and even insects, lizards, frogs, and small birds. They swallow small stones to grind fibrous food in their gizzards, much like chickens or African ostriches. When green grass grows scarce during the dry season, they gradually shift toward protein-rich sources insects and whatever wild fruit remains. At Imas, the greater rhea plays an essential role in the biological fabric of the Cerrado, both as a seed disperser and as a stabilizer between species, moving quietly between the dry and wet seasons. But not every predator in the Cerrado relies on speed. As night falls and rodents begin to emerge from their burrows, a motionless form lies amid the leaf litter, like a rotting log. The boa constrictor, one of the most ancient serpent lineages on the planet, with ancestors dating back to the Cretaceous period, contemporaries of the dinosaurs. Adults typically measure 6 to 10 feet in length, their gleaming scales patterned in brown, deep red, and silver grey, a natural map of camouflage. Vertical pupils, like a cat's, a hallmark of nocturnal hunters, paired with small heat-sensing pits between the labial scales, allowing it to see the body heat of prey in total darkness. The boa's strategy is not pursuit, but ambush. When prey ventures close enough, usually rodents, small marsupials or lizards, it strikes with startling speed. Hundreds of curved, inward-pointing teeth pin the prey in place, then coils of muscle tighten around it. The victim does not die from broken bones, but from suffocation as blood circulation is cut off. After swallowing its prey whole, sometimes twice the width of its own head, the boa retreats to a rocky crevice or leaf nest to digest. Its slow metabolism allows it to survive for weeks, even months, without another meal. A strategic hunter, taking only what it needs to survive, never wasting a thing. And within the Cerrado ecosystem, its presence helps control rodent populations indirectly, protecting crops from pest outbreaks. But another creature moves quietly along the dry streambed, larger, heavier, and more important than most realize. The South American tapir, the largest terrestrial animal on the continent, weighing between 330 and over 700 pounds. Its flexible proboscis, formed from the upper lip and nose, allows it to pluck fruit, probe dense undergrowth for tender leaves, and even function as a snorkel when submerged. In the searing heat of the dry season, when temperatures exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the ability to dive for minutes at a time and move along streambeds helps it escape predators and regulate its body temperature. This nocturnal mammal follows stream banks in search of fresh leaves, soft shoots, and aquatic vegetation, precious food sources when terrestrial plants have withered. Known as the gardener of the rainforest, the tapir helps regenerate vegetation by dispersing seeds through its droppings, particularly across the Veredas wetlands. Its eyesight is poor, but its senses of smell and hearing are extraordinarily keen. It communicates through whistles, heavy breaths, and a distinctive clicking sound, a secret language whispered through the forest. Calves are born after 13 months of gestation, covered in dark fur, marked with white stripes and spots resembling a small watermelon, perfect camouflage beneath the forest canopy. They remain with their mother for 12 to 18 months, learning to swim, dive, and survive. But this also means populations regenerate slowly and are acutely vulnerable to rapid environmental change. The International Union for Conservation of Nature lists the South American tapir as vulnerable, threatened by deforestation, agricultural expansion, and hunting. In the Cerrado, the conversion of forest to soybean plantations and cattle pasture over the past 2 decades has caused a severe decline in Veredas habitat. But at Grande Sertão Veredas National Park, the tapir still has a chance. Networks of underground springs, wetlands, and year-round green buriti palm vegetation create a cool, moist refuge through the dry season, an ideal environment for the species' long-term survival. The dry season does not last forever, and when the first rain touches the cracked earth, the Cerrado awakens in ways no one can predict. Between mid-September and early October, the smell of wet soil fills the air, a signal for the return of water and the start of the breeding season. This shift triggers an ecological chain reaction across the entire ecosystem, from the germination of dormant seeds to the explosion of insect populations. And in the highest canopy, a creature of dazzling appearance begins its own journey of survival. The Toko toucan, the largest toucan in South America, carries one of the most extraordinary biological designs in the natural world. Its bill, measuring up to 7.5 inches, may look cumbersome, but is in fact surprisingly light, constructed from spongy keratin tissue inside a hollow bone framework. And that bill plays a critical role in thermoregulation. When temperatures rise during the seasonal transition, blood flow to the bill increases to radiate heat. When night falls, blood retreats to conserve warmth. This is one of the most efficient cooling systems ever recorded in any bird, comparable to the heat-dissipating capacity of an African elephant's ears. The wet season also signals breeding time. Ripe fruits abound, triggering an insect boom, essential nutrition for toucans during nesting. The Toko toucan does not excavate its own nest. It occupies old tree cavities, particularly abandoned woodpecker holes. 2 to 4 white eggs are incubated by both parents in alternating shifts for approximately 2 weeks. When they hatch, the chicks are featherless, their bills still tiny, but day by day, they grow under devoted parental care, gradually developing their dense plumage and vivid orange bills. And beyond its role as a skillful frugivore, the Toko toucan is a vital link in the Cerrado's post-dry season recovery. By eating and dispersing seeds, it helps new trees take root in fresh ground, increasing tropical forest carbon storage capacity by up to 38%. Deeper within the gallery forest, where the Serra da Canastra ascends and the Cascadanta falls, plunge some 610 feet to birth the São Francisco River. The seasonal rains transform the woodland into a living labyrinth. And within that labyrinth, a small feline shadow moves silently among rain-soaked branches. The margay, also called the tree ocelot, measures between 28 and 32 inches in length and weighs only 3 to 4 pounds, but it is the acrobat of the forest world. Its tail accounts for up to 70% of its body length, creating perfect balance when navigating slippery branches after rain. And here is what makes the margay truly extraordinary. Its hind ankles can rotate a full 180 degrees, allowing it to descend trees head first, more like a squirrel than a cat. It can leap 12 feet between branches and even hang upside down from a single hind foot. Its large, round eyes, which locals call button eyes, allow it to hunt with astonishing precision in complete darkness. The margay lives alone, hunts primarily at night, and marks its territory with scent. But the most remarkable hunting strategy ever documented in Brazil revealed that the margay mimics the distress calls of infant-pied tamarin monkeys, luring anxious adults close enough to be ambushed from above. With a reproductive rate of just one offspring every 2 years, the margay is acutely vulnerable to sudden environmental change. Serra da Canastra, where intact gallery forests still remain, is becoming the final refuge for this species' survival. Along the Araguaia River, the natural boundary between Goiás and Tocantins, the wet season, creates an entirely different world. Over 800 oxbow lakes interconnect with one another, and the vast flooded forest system at Cantown State Park forms the last stronghold for one of the rarest species on the planet. The giant otter, the largest otter on Earth. Adult males can reach 6 feet in length and weigh 75 pounds, with a torpedo-shaped body covered in short, dense, waterproof, chocolate brown fur. A flat, elongated tail acts as a paddle. Webbed feet allow agile movement through murky water. And one detail often overlooked, each individual bears a unique white throat patch, a biological signature that allows researchers to identify them in the wild. The wet season triggers a fish explosion, catfish, carrikins filling the giant otter's natural menu. With ultra-sensitive whiskers, it detects the slightest movement in turbid water. Ears and nostrils seal shut when diving, allowing total focus on the hunt. Unlike most other otter species, the giant otter is highly social. It lives in organized family groups, typically a lifelong breeding pair, along with offspring from multiple litters. A group can range from 2 to 20 individuals. They hunt together, play together, and share the responsibility of raising the next generation. When some individuals leave to forage, others stay behind to guard the breeding site or train young pups in diving and catching prey. This coordinated hunting strategy increases the group's overall success rate. Each adult requires approximately 7 pounds of fish per day, nearly 10% of its body weight. Fish are not the only item on the menu. When fish are scarce, giant otters also hunt crabs, snakes, and even young caimans. Remarkable adaptability for an apex aquatic predator. With dexterous front paws, they grip their catch and eat it floating on their backs at the water's surface, an image both comical and deeply rooted in survival instinct. They choose to dig dens along high riverbanks or swampy forest edges. Each den can have multiple entrances, allowing the entire group to move quickly and safely when threatened. The International Union for Conservation of Nature lists the giant otter as endangered, with fewer than 5,000 individuals estimated to remain in the wild. No clear upward or downward trend has been recorded. But at the Araguaia, the stable presence of large family groups and increasing numbers of young offer a glimmer of hope that with adequate protection, this species still has a chance to recover. From the tight-knit families of the giant otter, the story of the Cerrado turns to the creatures of the water's edge, where two opposing forces share a single ecosystem. The capybara, the largest rodent in the world, measuring 3 to 4.5 feet long and weighing 70 to 145 pounds, more than twice the size of a beaver, coarse, tawny brown fur and a stocky build conceal a body perfectly adapted for a semi-aquatic lifestyle. Short legs with webbed feet, eyes, ears and nostrils set high on the head, allowing it to remain submerged while still observing and breathing. A capybara can dive for up to 5 minutes to evade predators or cool down when temperatures exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. On land, it reaches speeds of over 20 miles per hour when escaping danger. Each day, an adult consumes nearly 8 pounds of vegetation. A curious footnote: in the 16th century, the Catholic Church classified the capybara as fish, permitting the faithful to eat its meat during Lent. The capybara's digestive system features an enlarged cecum teeming with millions of microorganisms that ferment cellulose. They re-chew food while resting and practice coprophagy, consuming a soft type of feces after the first round of digestion to maximize nutrient absorption. During the dry season, small groups of 10 to 20 often merge into herds of hundreds, led by a dominant male. Social hierarchy is maintained through scent glands on the nose and near the anus, along with a rich vocal repertoire including whistles, chirps, growls, and even barks. They frequently groom each other and remove parasites not merely for hygiene, but as a form of social bonding within the group. If you're captivated by the world of the Cerrado, share with WildVerse in the comments. Between the capybara and the yacar caiman, which species impresses you more? And just beneath the surface where the capybara swims, another shape lies motionless. The yacar caiman, native to Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay, is the silent hunter of the seasonal lake systems. Adult males measure 6 to 10 feet in length, their skin ranging from dark brown to olive, with pale yellow bellies reminiscent of lakeside mud. "74 teeth are continuously replaced, with the fourth tooth of the lower jaw protruding even when the mouth is closed, the feature that earned it the name piranha caiman. It does not charge or chase, but lies motionless beneath floating vegetation, only its eyes and nostrils breaking the surface. When unsuspecting prey ventures too close, the snap is too fast to escape. But the Yacare caiman also has a gentler side reproduction. During the wet season, when the soil is damp and temperatures rise, females construct nests atop mounds of mud and decaying vegetation, warm and lightly steaming, like natural incubators. "22 to 35 eggs are placed inside, and the temperature within the nest determines the sex of the hatchlings. Warmer conditions produce males, while cooler ones result in females. Even before they hatch, soft calls ring out from inside the eggshells, gentle summons to their mother. The presence of the Yacare caiman helps control piranha populations, preventing outbreaks that could shatter the fragile balance of the seasonally flooded wetlands. And now the apex of the food chain, the soul of the cerrado, the jaguar, returns. Its coat is marked with large rosettes, bearing dark central spots, each pattern unique, no two individuals alike. Yet, the cerrado harbors a remarkable anomaly. An exceptionally high concentration of black jaguars, comprising over 15% of the local population, a striking contrast to the global average of 10%. These shadowed felines stand as a living testament to the enduring vigor of melanism beneath the scorching south. American sun. Even in their solid black form, the rosette pattern persists, visible under angled light or through infrared photography. The jaguar is a solitary creature. Individuals rarely encounter one another outside of mating season. A male's territory spans route historically twice that of a female's, often overlapping with several females, but almost never with another male.
No one will hear it coming.
During the dry season, this spatial arrangement minimizes conflict and optimizes access to dwindling resources. They are most active at dawn and dusk, when light is low, temperatures mild, and prey begins to stir. Unlike most big cats, the jaguar possesses the strongest bite force of any feline powerful enough to pierce a turtle's shell or crush a caiman's skull. It does not strike at the throat, but aims directly for the head, a precise and instantaneous killing blow. The jaguar commands an extraordinary vocal repertoire, ranging from rasping roars to gentle chuffing. This soft, rhythmic articulation serves as soothing reassurance, an intimate dialogue shared closely between a mother and her cubs. At Grande Sertão Veredas National Park, where underground springs, wetlands, and year-round green buriti palm groves converge 26 to 31. Individual jaguars were recorded between 2000 and 23 and 2024. Historically, the jaguar's range extended from the southwestern United States to Argentina, but it has now vanished from El Salvador, Uruguay, and many other regions. In indigenous cultures from the Aztec to the Maya, the jaguar has always symbolized power, divinity, and immortality. In the Cerrado, the image of a jaguar crossing water under dry season moonlight has become a living emblem of equilibrium, a reminder that even in the harshest landscapes, a deeper order endures. But this vibrant world is under threat every day, and this time the enemy has no claws. More than half the Cerrado's original vegetation has disappeared, replaced by vast plantations of soybeans, corn, and industrial-scale cattle pasture. Only about 8% of the Cerrado falls within strictly protected areas, compared to over 45% of the Amazon. Climate change is making dry seasons harsher and natural wildfires more frequent and prolonged than ever. In 2024, deforestation in the Cerrado decreased by over 25%, thanks to improved monitoring, but it is still not enough. With nearly 60% of native vegetation on private land, collaboration between government, communities, and the private sector is no longer optional. It is a matter of survival. The Cerrado Restoration Fund aims to raise $150 million, a vital pledge to safeguard over 106,000 acres of native flora. Ecological corridors are gradually being reconnected along the western fringe, allowing species to move between fragmented forest patches. GPS tracking projects are monitoring jaguar behavior with increasing precision, providing a solid scientific foundation for conservation decisions. At Chapada dos Veadeiros and Emas, two national parks, recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites captive breeding programs, combined with community education, are showing positive results.